feel and be the cure that helps you heal. Be the dreams that you desire. Be the spark of your own fire. Be the future you inspire, and be the wings that take you high. Be the change you wish to see. Be the peace that sets you free. Be the love you wanna feel, and be the cure that helps you heal. Be the dreams that you desire. Be the spark of your own fire. Be the future you inspire, and be the wings that take you high. Thank you so much.
Well, Rick, I now understand why you wore your Bling Boy shoes today. And if you haven't seen his shoes, you got to see them after the service. But wow. I see why you have the name Gypsy's Soul, because it's got that guttural reality of the gypsy. Wow, fabulous, thank you. Fabulous. So at a church meeting, this wealthy man, member of the congregation, stood and took the platform to share his testimony of faith with the rest of the congregation. And he said, when I first got into business years and years ago, I came to, after my first day and my very first $1 bill that I earned that day, to a missionary presentation that night. And as I listened to the missionaries speak, I realized that I need to give that $1 I earned today, even though it was all the money I had. Something inside of me knew I had to give that to the work of God, or nothing would change in my life. So I did. And I attribute that demonstration of my faith, my giving everything I had that night, to my success today. And I'm a millionaire because of my belief and that practice. It proved to me the power of God's blessing. And the audience was just stunned in silence. And as he approached the pew where he was sitting, there was this little old lady sitting down a couple of people, and she leaned forward and, not in a quiet voice, said, "I dare you to do it again." Somehow she captures for me a lot of things that we ought to consider in this teaching, and that is that you call it like it is. Reality is a great place to stand. And if you have wonderings, then state them. And then use this teaching to prove the real truth, because we all have been surrounded by facts our whole life. And sometimes those facts will be very distracting, very compelling to support a notion of limitation. So this month, New Beginnings is the theme, beginning anew. When your inner view changes, which is what Selena talked about last week, about that what you look from is what you tend to experience, what you pray from is what you get. You don't get what you want, you don't get what you desire, you get what you pray from. So when that inner truth aligns with the desire, bam, it's done. Outer experiences become new every step along the way. Hafiz, one of my favorites. What do sad people have in common? It seems they all built a shrine to the past and go there and do a strange wail and worship. What is the beginning of happiness? It is to stop being so religious that way. Stop being so ridiculous in this particular way is how I would probably end that piece, that passage. Because we will pick notions and beliefs and then go and worship at the altar of suffering because of them. Those limitations show up within us all the time. They manifest as our life. The obstacles in our life all of a sudden become our life. And here we teach a way out. So today, every step is new. Every moment is new, even when it seems like something previous. And there have been repeats I know we have all experienced. By seeing newly each moment, choosing anew and accepting new possibilities, you daily claim more good. So there are 3 pieces to this intro for today that I want you to pay attention to. 3rd line, seeing newly each moment. That's the first thing. You must see differently, anew. The second part is at the end of that line, choosing anew. And choosing itself and of itself is not enough unless you really embrace accepting along with your choice. So we must see newly, we must choose anew, and then accept this new life, these new possibilities. And when we do, we daily claim more good in our lives. I mean, it's really, I would say it's that simple, but it is that straightforward. Sometimes choosing a different way of thinking, choosing a different way of seeing, choosing a different way of choosing, it's difficult. We get trapped in the old so easily. Spirit conceives of neither time nor space, but only the immediate now. The immediate moment of now. Ideas which give rise to things are in a universal here and ever-present now. And from the Eastern traditions, we hear a lot about the now. Time is not a line, but a series of now points. So here we are, moving forward in time, now, 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 now. And the downside of the human experience is we do not know what any given moment of now has in it for us and what our experience is until we look back and see that moment after having drawn conclusions and made decisions about what that moment meant. So to really be in the now is nothing more than the experience itself without all of the conclusions and decisions and the thinking and the perseveratings and the, you get the idea? So I can go into my now, and I look back and say, oh, that's where I've been. But that's as close as we get. Every conclusion we draw is from the past experience. So, if where you stand is reality, then your actions have power. So we have power every single moment of now. And the only advantage of looking backward is so that we can better understand what we have done and how we have thought up to this point in time, so we can make a different decision now and step into that. So see it, choose differently, and then accept that new experience in our lives. Brian Andreas, I just love this guy, Story People. He said he discovered his reset button early on, and there were not many things that bothered him all the rest of his days just because of that. Do you have a reset button? If you don't have a reset button, visit one of the practitioners after the service and say, I want to grow a reset button. We have other buttons that we push all the time, but usually they're reactions. What if we create a reset button instead of that? A reset button instead of a react button. That reset button is our opportunity to reevaluate right now what happened in our past, to reconsider, and then to choose anew and accept that new behavior, that new experience thereafter. Frank Whitney. Your ability to take a new hold on life depends on your ability to break with the thought of the past and acquire a new outlook of the present and the future. See, when we change our minds, we start looking at life differently, right? And so when we change our minds, we all of a sudden start observing differently. Our perception changes, our point of view changes. And when our point of view changes, what we perceive changes. And what we perceive changes affects whatever experience, and so we have a changed experience. That's the cycle that we continually move through moment to moment every single time we change our minds. But that's the trick, is the changing our minds. Ernest Holmes in 365 Signs of Mind. We have been given the ability to initiate a new change of causation. Hang with that for a moment. We've been given the ability, the capacity, the power to initiate a new chain of causation. And in this teaching, we say it's the science of mind. By changing our minds, that's a total conversion of the previous state we were in. That's what's beautiful about the Trance of Scarcity, the book, and the workshop that will introduce that book in a couple of weeks, Trance of Abundance. We've been entranced to believe that life is a certain way, that it is this way, period. And until we back up and reevaluate things, we will stay convinced that it is that way, operate from that point of view, and will swim in our little bitty fishbowl, however small that may happen to be. Until we get a different point of view and step out of that fishbowl into a bigger fishbowl, because we're never not going to be in a fishbowl, people. Isn't that just inspiring? That we're never not going to be in the cage of our own definitions, in the fishbowl of our own definitions. The good news is we can change those definitions and subsequently get a bigger fishbowl. Swim around noticing that we're actually in water. Probably because we experienced no water as we jumped out of the smaller one into the larger one. But regardless of the method by which we use, if we get that bigger point of view, we see things a little bit better. It gives us a chance to stand in that moment of reality where the real power lives. Spirit is forever unfolding its own nature. Ernest Holmes said spirit takes on form in order to self-realize. So we have an experience, we look back on that experience, we step back into it and say, what have I discovered here? I have realized what here? And this goes on automatically all the time. You're doing it right now. You came in here, maybe you came in here just to listen to some magnificent music, and you got that. My desire is that you would come in here and reconsider your life. Come in here and step back from yourself and look at yourself fresh, anew. Spirit is forever unfolding its own nature. Everything is continually being recreated. Nothing stays the same unless it's chosen. Today is the time to prove to ourselves that it, Spirit, God, the infinite, knows how to bring the right things to pass for us. How many of you convinced that you know what's best for you? Come on, let's see it. Trick question. Oh, I didn't tell you that, did I? We all have a pretty good idea about what we want in our lives, don't we? And yet, is there any area of your life where you hold back? I held back for 20 years writing a book that I finished in one weekend. 20 years. And finally, after saying, he's working on this particular book, and it will be published this year, for 20 years, yesterday I sat down, got the ISBN, and published my ebook as well as my paperback. Now, people, how the hell long did it take for me to write that book? Over 30 years. 20 years, I wrestled with it. Bring the right things to pass for us, but they will pass right on by unless we reach out and grab them puppies. What good in your life have you not grabbed? What benefit could you have right now if you should choose it now? Correct the mind and we lose the burden of having to correct everything else. Correct the way we think, which creates the state of our experience. We correct that, it changes the state, and we start looking at life differently, choosing differently, and accepting different things in our lives. I mean, the sequence of the process is so consistent. If you back up and look at the life you currently have, it's a function of what you have chosen up until now. If there's something you don't like, what can you do about it? To choose is also sometimes, if I choose differently, it's to unchoose something that I've had in its place up to this time. So I gave up my notions about why I shouldn't publish this darn thing and blah, 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 and sat down and went through the exercise. And if you've never done it, I want you to know it is an exercise, because you tell it to do one thing and it doesn't. At least it didn't for me. You guys may sit down and go, and 15 minutes later it's a done deal. Well, I spent 6 hours trying to do this darn thing. So it may not come instantly, but are you willing really to move beyond the choice to the acceptance? I wasn't getting up until I had accepted that different fact, that it was published. And it's not published until you have an ISBN. And it's on it, and then you make it available for purchase. That's the reality of it, people. Correct the mind and we lose the burden of having to correct everything else. Because if we keep correcting and fixing things along the way, then we haven't corrected the mind that caused it to be a particular way in the first place. So, there is a focus this week, suicide prevention, on Tuesday at Suicide Prevention Day. So I'd like for you to hold that in the back of your head for just a moment. And I want to close with an affirmation. And as we hold that notion of celebrating Suicide Prevention Day, I'd like for you also to consider your choices and how you choose to live your life differently. So would you please repeat after me? The time has come and the hour has struck. The power from within has come forth. And it expresses through my word. I do not have to wait. Today is the time. Today I accept the truth. Today I completely heal. Now just notice how these feel, what thoughts run through your head as you say these statements. Today I enter into my inheritance. I accept the abundance of life. I choose love, peace, and joy. Nothing in my past experience and nothing in my thought about the future can in any way deny me the pleasure and privilege of living today, complete and perfect. I love it. I let it be. And so it is. Bless you. Let's pray together. So I stopped the noise in my head by attending to the notes from the piano. I listened deeply to them. I feel the vibration of each one, and the harmonies as those severals come together. And in this listening, I allow myself to hear the voice of the infinite within. I tap into that inner mystic that knows the truth, the source of everything, every experience, all joy, all wonder, all abundant good, all health and well-being, all peace. And I know for each person who comes forward to have this word spoken for them, a complete realization. So as these individual prayers continued, as these powerful words are spoken, I speak my word for this beloved community and everything and everyone beyond it. And know that it all starts right here within. And the from which I speak, I call gratitude. The knowing that all these words have already come to fruition and that feeling of fullness and joy for that fact. So from this knowing, all good comes. Whether it has to do with health, wealth, well-being, ease, peace, harmony, whether it applies to the body of affairs, relationships, career, peace in the world. For all of these things which I know already live within, I feel the gratitude. And simply, effortlessly, let them be. So since it's already so, I'll let these words go, and together, each person as a group, as a community, steps back fully into the flow of life. And in acknowledgement and affirmation of this truth, together we all say, and so it is.